Good morning, students. So today we will be starting with the models, and the very first model is your waterfall model. So it is SDLC based model, that is a phase development approach is used here, and we have two types of waterfall model. The very first one, or the basic model, is known as classical waterfall model, and the second one is known as iterative waterfall model. So classical waterfall model, by default we call it as waterfall model also. While the another one is your iterative. Iterative means where we give a feedback path due to some or the other reasons. So we'll see in the further slides what does this classical and iterative means. So starting with the very first model, that is classical waterfall model, or simply the waterfall model. This was the very first model that was given in the year 1970, and it is a basic reference model which is followed by every other model that we'll be studying later on, right? So this makes the foundation of phase development approach. This was the very first model that was adopted. But you will see later as we proceed that this classical waterfall model is not practically implementable. I'll tell you the reason later on. First we'll go through it, try to understand what does it mean that it is not practically implementable, right? You will identify it yourself, then we'll discuss this point in the discussion class. Now this is referred to as linear sequential model. Linear sequential model means linear means one after the other in a line, right? It's not having any parallel activity. While a sequence means that strictly it is going to follow a sequence, that means output of the one act as an input to the next, then again the output of the next will act as an input to the other. Like a proper sequence is being followed. You cannot jump from one phase to third or the fifth phase. You will be following that strict sequence of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, because entry and exit criteria is being followed here. So this is also known as linear sequential life cycle model. This is the most simplest model to understand and use. Classical waterfall model, now what happens in this model? It divides the entire life cycle into set of phases, and each and every phase has a definite task to perform, right? In a waterfall model, what happens is each phase must be completed before the next phase can begin. That is, I said, entry and exit criteria, and there is no overlapping in the phases. Each and every phase has their own set of tasks that they has to implement, which does not coincide with any other phase. Now since the phases fall from higher to lower level, like you can say water flows from top to bottom, right? Similarly the sequence of flow of the phases are from top to bottom. First you will go for feasibility study, then requirements, then designing, then coding, testing. So it is from higher level to the lower level, and so it resembles a cascade of a waterfall. We call this model as a waterfall model. Cascade of waterfall means water flows from top to bottom, not vice versa. Similarly, in classical waterfall model, we'll start from the phase 1, 2, 3 till 7. We cannot go back to the previous phases like in the cascade of the waterfall. So this is the significance of the name waterfall. Now phases between feasibility study and testing, I mean, is from the first phase, feasibility, requirement, designing, coding and testing. The first 5 phases are known as development phases. While what about the phases about that? If these are the development phases, then comes is your deployment. We deploy it to the customer. It comes into operational phase and maintenance may be called. So the development phases are till testing only. Now among all the life cycle phases, the maximum effort required is in the maintenance phase. That is, I have told you, that is 60% of the overall, you can say, right? So if effort is maximum, ultimately the time and cost will also be the maximum. Now among the development phases, that is till testing consumes the maximum effort, right? So just remember these terms. If you are talking about all the life cycle phases, then maximum effort is incurred in maintenance. While if you are considering the development phases, then maximum effort is incurred in testing phase, right? This was the basic of classical waterfall model. Now we'll see with the help of the graphical representation. Now we have two representation for this model. First I'll discuss the most descriptive way of representing this model. Though we say that we have 7 phases, but here we have represented 8. So what we have done is we have divided design into two, that is system design, high level design, and a detail design which is known as low level design. So two design phases are separately represented here, else they are 7 in number only. We have just segregated design into two parts. Now this waterfall model is the most descriptive model. Now what does I mean by the term descriptive is, it represents each and every phase properly, along with what is the document that is getting released is represented. See, after each phase the exit criteria or the deliverable is represented here, right? So how we are drawing this is, you'll make the first phase here, that is system feasibility. You get feasibility report. Then we start with requirement analysis and specification. We get a requirement document, that is SRS. Along with this we get a project plan document also, that is known as SPMP, that is software project management plan document. Then is a system design, where we get system design document. Detail design, we get a detail design document. After coding we get source code or the programs. After testing and integration means we have several types of testing. The first one is unit and then integration and system testing. We get test plan, test report and error report, right? Few manuals also. Then after installation we get installation report, and then it comes under operational phase and maintenance is called for. So this is how we have represented the flow. Ultimately the flow is represented here, right? One after the other you are going to follow it. So it is linear sequential in nature. Linear, one after the other. Sequence means output of one act as an input to the next, output of this act as an input to this, right? So that is highly, or you can say rigid model, where the strict criteria is followed for entry and exit. Now I'm not going into details of these phases. We have done in the last lecture what do we mean by feasibility study. We check whether it is implementable or not. Roughly I'm telling you in a single word. Requirement analysis and specification is where we collect the requirement, analyze and prepare the document. Along with this we are saying we have a project planning, that is a part of SPM, software project management will be doing it. It is an umbrella activity of SDLC overall. System designing is identifying the overall architecture of your system, identifying the modules and all. Detail designing is for each component you have identified, you have to prepare the detailed diagram for that. Then comes is your coding, where the actual implementation takes place in the language specified by the customer. Once it is coded, we go for testing and integration. We test with all the aspects whichever is present in your requirement document. Then installation at the customer's site, and then customer starts using it, and if any change is required the maintenance is called for. So this is the most simplest and understandable way to represent this model, right? Now quickly summarizing, what are the deliverables of this waterfall model? Deliverables we mean is the output that are being released, that is an SRS document, project plan document, system design document, detailed design document, test plan and test reports, source code, software manuals like user manual, installation guide, beginner's guide, help, everything is prepared here, and the review reports which are being prepared after each and every phase. Review report I mean is, you must be seeing these two terms here, verification and validation. These are the two terms that we use it interchangeably, but there is a distinction between these two terms. Validation is something which is done at the end, when we are going to validate our system, test our system, right? While verification is something we carry out after each phase to verify whatever task is assigned for that particular phase is completed properly or not, or within the given constraints or not, right? So you will find ki why validation is written here, that will be better clear with the help of a V model that we will be doing it later. In like we'll be doing waterfall now, then prototype model, evolutionary model, spiral, and then V model. So that will be clear much better there ki why verification are written here and why validation is written here. As of now, just understand validation is testing, right, to build the right product, while verification is an intermediate step carried out after each phase to verify, that is review, whether the destined work is being completed correctly or not, right? So this is what representation 1 is. Second representation is what signifies its name, the waterfall model. Waterfall model means top to bottom the sequence of phases will be this, like first we'll carry out feasibility study. Once it is completed, we start with requirements. Once this is completed, we start with designing. So this is representing a cascade of waterfall, top to bottom. While in the previous representation, this was not clear. It was not signifying the name, but this representation signifies the name of the waterfall model. So simply it is going to follow these phases one after the other. After testing, we have installation, but we don't externally represent it. We assume that it's a part of between the two, right? Then quickly summarizing feasibility, we have seen we have to check the feasibility with respect to financial and technical aspects. Then requirement analysis and specification, we go for gathering the requirement and then specifying it. Designing is preparing the plan. Coding and unit testing, we code it and we compile it then in there itself. So unit testing is practically a part of coding. Then we have integration and system testing to check the final product. And there are different types of system testing, like alpha testing, which is carried out at the developer's location. Beta testing is carried out in the customer's or the end user's environment, while acceptance testing is performed by the actual customers. Then is a deployment or the installation part, where we deploy the system into customer's environment, and it comes under operational phase. Then comes is your maintenance. If any change is required, then maintenance is called. Broadly, it is of 3 types: corrective, perfective, and adaptive, and the 4th one is preventive, right? So I'm not going into details of this again. Now, when to use this waterfall model? What is the application area? Since we have different model, that means the criteria of using a particular model is there. We cannot use all the models in each and every situation or every type of product you are developing. So the basic requirement for a classical waterfall model is when the requirements are initially well known. If you have all the requirements beforehand, before starting the development, then only we go for classical waterfall model. Why we are saying it should be known? Because we don't have any feedback path to go back and make the changes now and then. Say after some time you started your development and then any requirement, new requirement comes in. So you cannot accommodate that requirement here because you cannot go back. It is linear sequential in nature. Whatever you have initially, only that will be developed through this model. So the basic criteria is requirements should be initially well known. Then requirements are stable and not changing frequently. So stable means it should not be changing, right? Stable means constant. You have whatever you have initially, that will remain throughout. It is not going to change at the intermediate step. Then only waterfall model is applicable. Now this model is used for a small applications only, because in a large applications you have to go back and make the relevant changes now and then. So that is not possible. There is no requirement which is not understood or not very clear. You should have all the requirements which are understood properly and clear. They must not be unclear or messy in nature. That may lead to go back and again make the corrections, right? The environment must also be stable when we are going to develop the software. The tools and the techniques used is stable and not dynamic. So ultimately you will find that everything should be stable. You should have everything in hand. every problem is understood properly, all the requirements are understood properly, all the tools that you are going to use must be known to you. You cannot change the tool at the intermediate step. All the techniques or the process that you are going to use, that should be known initially, right? And the resources are well trained and are available. Resources we mean is the manpower involved. They must be trained in using these tools and technique, and they must get the work completed, and they must be available as and when required. So the most important is initially the requirements must be well known, and rest other things must be stable and available. So this is where we use in classical waterfall model, right? Now what is the advantage? The very basic advantage is it is simple and easy to understand and use as well, right? Easy to manage due to the rigidity of the model. Nothing is changing. It's constant. You start from one end, follow the second, third, fourth, and your software is done, right? So hardly, like whatever plan you have prepared, it is going to move as per the plan, and the work will be finished within the given constraints of time and cost. So it's easy to manage such model. Each phase has a specific deliverables and a review process. So ultimately you're getting an output. Your output act as you can say a deliverable which help us in measuring the progress. Like if the feasibility report is complete is released, so what does it mean? The task of feasibility study is completed. If you get an SRS document, that means the tasks relevant to requirements as well as the previous phases are completed, so you can easily check the progress also. Then phases are processed and completed one at a time. Since it is highly sequential in nature, not the parallel activities are carried out, so at a time a phase is carried out and it is completed properly, then only you proceed to the next phase. Works well for smaller project where requirements are well understood. Clearly defined phases, we have a dedicated task of each phase. Well understood milestones, that is, milestone is what here? Deliverable, right? Once you receive a deliverable, that means the work of that task is completed or the phase is completed, and you have the proper documentation of that. Then easy to arrange task, since it is linear sequential. Process and results are well documented. So SDLC is something where documentation is very important, and here we are going to document each and everything. We have seen we have lot many deliverables which is coming out after each and every phase. So this makes the model very easy to use and understand, and these are the advantages. Then what are the disadvantages of this model? Anything which is having certain advantage, definitely certain shortfalls or limitations are also there, and we initially said that it is not practically implementable. That means there are certain major shortfalls in this model which makes it useless, right? But yes, since it is a basic reference model, it is followed everywhere by making a minor modification and converting this classical waterfall model into an iterative one. That is why we have iterative waterfall model in place. Just merely adding the feedback path, we can make this work, and practically it can be used for any sort of project. So the major disadvantage is your no feedback path. You don't have any feedback path. Ultimately you cannot make any changes to the system. Even you cannot rectify the error if it is present, and error belongs to a previous phase, not in the current phase, so you cannot go back and make the changes in the previous phases also. So ultimately you require feedback path in order to move from one phase to another and vice versa. That is not possible in this model. Difficult to accommodate change request. Now we know that change will definitely come in your software due to many reasons, like maybe due to the errors, maybe due to the change in process or technology, or you want to enhance your system. So the change will definitely come. Say you can assume any example, like you're having patches which is coming in for the applications that you are using. Say WhatsApp you are using, you get patches. That means certain change was there, and you have to adapt to that change. You have to make the changes, you have to update your system accordingly. So that is not possible in waterfall model. Waterfall I mean is classical waterfall model. Then no overlapping of phases are there. So once a phase is completed, then only you can start with the next phase. You cannot start the activities parallel. Say time is short, so you can ask your team members to work parallelly. So that is not possible in this phase. The model recommends that new phase can start only after the completion of the previous phase, but in real project this can't be maintained. To increase the efficiency and reduce the cost, phases may overlap. Practically overlapping is required, and that is done actually in other models, which is not present in this model. So these were the major drawback of this model. But other than that, yes, we do have other drawbacks also. That is, no working software is produced until late during the life cycle. What does it mean is, the working software is available once you have developed the entire software. That is still testing, the development phases are there, then only customer is able to view the software. So if a project is taking 1 year, right, say 9 months are for, or 10 months you're consuming for the development phases, the customer will be getting the working software at the end of 10th month only, during the testing to test the system. For that 10 months he will be in a dilemma whether my work is done or not, whether they are doing my work properly. So he doesn't have anything in hand at the intermediate level to be confident that his work is getting completed. So we'll have other models where the customer is involved in the intermediate steps also, and he is better satisfied. In this, since he is not getting any working model, he is least satisfied here. Then high amount of risk and uncertainty. So it's uncertainty and risk is also there. So you started your work, then for 10 months you developed it and you give it to the customer, and by the time the requirement changed, so it will fail. Now it is not required by the customer, right? So this is what, there is always a risk that whether it is be completed or it will be a failure, and if it is completed, whether it will be of a certain level of quality which is being expected, right? And we knew that requirements keeps on changing. There is no way of implementing the requirement. Ultimately, whatever the task is done may be a failure at the end, because the entire requirement or the market demand changes. Not a good model for complex and object oriented projects. Only for small project we can use this. Even object oriented projects means real world problems cannot be solved using this. Poor model for long and ongoing project. Fine. No, not suitable for the project where requirements are at a moderate to high risk of changing. So risk and uncertainty is high with this model. Fine. It is difficult to measure progress within the stages. In a stage itself, what does it mean? Okay, once a phase is completed, you carry out a review, that is verification. You got a document, so you can tell the progress. But within a phase, say you are giving designing as 1 month activity, so at the 15 days, can we tell how much is the progress, how much design is completed? No. Software doesn't have any look and feel until unless you get the entire software or any deliverable at the intermediate step, right? So it is very difficult to tell ki how much in a phase itself, how many activities are being carried out and how many are left. Cannot accommodate changing requirements. Adjusting scope during the life cycle can end a project. If you are going to change the scope, that whosoever is going to use, you want to increase the scope of that, that is not possible. Neither you can add new requirements to it, neither you can add new customers, customers also keeps on changing, or multiple customers are also there for a project. You cannot make any changes in that also. Then integration is done as a big bang at the very end, which doesn't allow identifying any technological or business bottleneck or challenges early. Big bang means when everything is done all together. So what do we mean by here? Integration testing is, integration is for integration testing. We have 3 levels of testing: unit testing, integration testing and system testing. So integration testing is when we are going to integrate modules gradually, that is one by one, and test it if there is any error in the interface. But it is saying we are not going to integrate them gradually, that is one by one. We are going to integrate all the modules at one go. Say let's assume we have 5 modules. So they are saying all the 5 modules will be integrated all together. So if there is any error, you have to check for each and every module and their interfaces. So it is time consuming. While if you do it gradually, say first 2 modules are integrated, if there is any error, the scope is less. The only possibility is the interface between module 1 and 2, the error could be there. Then you integrate with the third one and you test. If there is any error is in between the partially tested system and the third one. Then you integrate the fourth one likewise. So it becomes easy. But here we are saying it is a big bang, so ultimately it's a problem in this model. So these are basically you can say the drawbacks, right? Disadvantage we have done, advantages we have done, then application area. For each and every model now, what is important? You must know what is that model, how to represent that particular model, that is a diagram, that should be clear to you. What is an application area, where to use a particular model, and what are the pros and cons of each model, that is advantage and disadvantage. Because at the end, when we will complete all the traditional models, we are going to compare these models. So that should be very well clear ki what are these particular parameters, right? Because since you are going to compare them, and we'll see which is the best approach, and that is presently used in the market. So comparison is required for these traditional models. Now I'm using the term traditional model, means the models which were earlier used based on SDLC. But now the trend has changed. Now we are not using SDLC to that extent, but it's not obsolete. We are still using it for the legacy products or the old softwares which are developed, that are being developed using SDLC only. But the new ones we are developing using Agile, which is a new approach. We are converting our SDLC projects into Agile nowadays. So we'll be seeing all this in the first unit. Now comes is an iterative waterfall model. So what do you mean by an iterative waterfall model? It is simply a modification of classical waterfall model, right? It's not a separate model or a new model, just a slight change is done in the existing model and make it work practically. So it is said that classical waterfall was an ideal model. Ideal model means it was strictly following that linear sequence, but practically that was not possible if you are not accommodating any change. But for the errors you need to go back to the previous phases and make the correction. That was not possible. So classical model was considered to be an ideal model, which was not practically possible, right? It was assuming that no defect is introduced during any development activity, but that is not true. In practice, defects do get introduced in almost every phase of the life cycle, and we need to correct those errors. Then defect usually get detected much later in the life cycle. So what happens is, when you are testing the software in the testing phase, it's not that error has occurred in the testing. It may be due to the error which has been generated in the previous phases, like requirements. Maybe that we have identified the wrong requirement, and that wrong requirement was designed and coded, and ultimately we got that in the testing phase. Or maybe the error might have introduced in the designing, or it might have introduced in the coding phase also, right? So we have to detect these errors, right? Once a defect is detected, we need to go back to the phases where it was introduced, redo some of the work. That means we have to rework on the previous work done during that and all the subsequent phases. Now say, let's assume we have an error which was introduced in the requirements, and we identified that error in the testing phase. So you need to go back to the requirement phase, make the correction. Now whatever correction you have made, that should be made in the subsequent design also, and subsequently it must be done in the coding phase also. It's not that you only corrected the requirement and then testing, you left the designing and the coding part. No, it must be in a sequence. If you're working on some part, you're making any changes, it must be reflected in each and every phase. It must be in sync with each other. So for this reason, we need a feedback path to each and every phase. So this is what the representation is. we will be giving a feedback part. We are not giving directly a feedback part to this phase. We are giving a feedback part to and fro to each and every phase. See, why to each and every phase? Because now and then you have to go back and make the changes. If you're making a change in the coding, you have to go back and make the change design also. You need to go back and change in the requirements also. So ultimately to and fro, so that you can move from one step to another in both the directions properly. So this was classical waterfall model. Adding a feedback part to each and every phase makes it iterative in nature. Now errors should be detected in the same phase in which they are introduced. Why we are saying this is, say the point of introduction was the error was in requirement phase, right? So it is said that you must identify the error in this phase itself. Why? Because if it gets propagated to the later phases, it becomes difficult to correct the errors. Because if you go on correcting the errors, you have to rework on each and every phase. You make a change here, you have to make the change here also and there also. Better is, if the point of introduction is requirement, identify in the same phase or the nearer phases. This is known as phase containment of errors. Else you have to rework on everything, so more effort, time and cost will be required for that, and this is a constraint in your software. Now iterative waterfall model is by far the most widely used model. Since it is the basic model, just a flaw that was present in the classical was we don't have feedback path. Here we have given the feedback path and we can practically use it in each and every situation. So it is used every model, and all the models that we are going to subsequently study now is based on this waterfall model only, iterative waterfall approach. You'll see prototype model. Okay, once you develop the prototype, then iterative waterfall model is applied. Evolutionary model, in the each evolutionary step, iterative waterfall model is used. If it is a spiral model, in each spiral will be using iterative waterfall model only. So ultimately other models are based on this model and it is used everywhere. Now what is the advantage of iterative waterfall model? We do have feedback path and it is now simple, we can easily understand it. It's sequential in nature, not the parallel, along with the feedback path. Then what are the drawbacks? Difficult to incorporate change request because we have a limited time, and if you go on making the changes now and then, ultimately it is going to hamper the progress of your project. Then incremental delivery is not supported. What does it mean is you cannot deliver your system in increments. That means if 5 modules are there, you cannot deliver first increment in the first cycle, second module in the second cycle, third module in the third cycle, right? No, all the 5 modules needs to be developed using 7 phases and then deliver to the customer, right? हम उसे break करके modules को deliver नहीं कर सकते हैं using this model, and this is the major drawback. And we'll find we have iterative model later on, or evolutionary model, where we can deliver the system in increments. Right? Then overlapping of phases is not supported, but practically we know that overlapping is required in the real world projects. Risk handling is not at all done. Maybe though it is iterative waterfall also, but it might happen once you develop the entire thing, customer rejects it at the end, right? So that risk is always there. So everything will be a waste. And limited customer interaction because customer is involved during the requirements and finally at the testing part. At the intermediate level, customer is not involved. So it might happen when you're not interacting with a customer, maybe the communication gap is there, or he's not able to convey the changes that he wants, and ultimately it might fail at the end. So these are the few of the drawbacks relevant to your iterative waterfall model. If you do have any problem in this model, this is a very important model. Clear it now only, because as we move forward, then it will be very difficult to go back and again do the same thing, right? So in the discussion class this time I will be discussing this waterfall model again. By the time you go through it and identify the problems if you encounter, and we will discuss this there, right? Thank you.